Again, don't write all this down because this is yours to have. But especially as you get into 2024 and 2025, there's new stuff with labels. Labels you think may disappear, but they're not. They're just hidden. It's extremely annoying. There's some changes in 2025 as well that kind of makes those labels. You take a sheet, for example, and what's in your viewport you can see, but what's outside your viewport you can't. It just things that bug me. These are the ways to turn it off. So don't write them down, but there's add labels, and the big ones here, AEC viewport option, which is opt out or opt in. So if you get annoyed by labels disappearing, that's why you can turn it off. Some other things, I'm going to skip some of these because I went over last year, but things that take a long time to save, there's probably something going on that we can look at, but there's a couple things in your options that you can uncheck. It's called visual fidelity and then maintain drawing size and compatibility. It really means nothing. You can turn those off. That will increase your save time for sure. So that coupled with the 2025 stuff should speed up open and save a lot. And I'm quickly going through here. I included this with links. I'm not going to go over every single one, but this is how to check your hardware accelerator, check your video driver, things like that that I see often, that I get calls often, how to repair drawings. I've linked these to help or how-tos and stuff. We all probably work with images, big images, especially as a lot of us here deal with drone data, and those images get quite large. I find it a lot easier instead of map inserting that or through the task pane into my drawing to have a drawing, the image drawing as its own DWG. I find it way easier, way better on my files. And then you can clip out the XREF to any shape or size that you want, not have to worry about clipping the image. So I would do that even if it's one image. I do that. I have an image base, and sometimes it's one image, sometimes it's 10 images. Way easier to handle, easier for your computer to handle. There you go. Helpful.
When you create that separate drawing, do you bring the image in? How do you attach the image to that drawing you create just for the image?
I do map insert.
Okay.
Map I insert.
I didn't know if there's a different way to do that.
No. Nope. I would still do the map I insert.
And that puts it into the drawing? Does it save it, or is it referencing it still?
Puts it into the drawing.
Okay.
And then you reference that drawing into your file.
Sometimes I have issues where I still send that file to someone and the aerial's not with it, even after map insert. So
that's because it's an XREF and it won't.
Okay.
So you'd have to send that image with it. So, yeah. Data clip. Again, we're dealing with big surfaces. We want to avoid at all costs that stupid MMS. There are ways to avoid that. Simplify your surface, weeding lines. But data clip is one that is just often overlooked. I don't know what's going on there. So let's go. Let me open up a file here. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I would never tell you to do this, but I'm going to explode the surface. Yeah. Do not do that. But I'm doing it for a reason. So let's say this is the first time I brought in those contours or brought in an XML or anything. A state file, which I'll bring in momentarily, kind of a big DEM file. A lot of us bring in this big file. We need this, right? If we do a boundary clip, it still sees this. If we do a data clip, it's just what we want. And a data clip has to happen. So I'm going to go create my surface now. I'm just going to call it EG. Let's just Data clip needs to happen before you bring the data in. So this is a little different, but you go in here to boundaries and say add. We probably all do this for an outer boundary or a hide boundary, but data clip's this fourth option. If we go data clip, hit OK, I'm going to say whatever's within this rectangle, that's what I want brought in. So I define my boundary first. And then as I build my surface, I'm going to add this in. This could be a DEM. This could be whatever. Could be a million points that the surveyor did. I'm going to just add this as contours. Okay. So added that to my surface. Two things on this before I turn that surface on. I don't need these contours anymore unless I'm going to change something. But AutoCAD doesn't like polyline, and especially multiple polylines, that have a ton of vertices. That, again, is just a machine and file killer. In your surface definition, you can tell it to build that surface without needing those polylines in my drawing. So I changed my definition here, copy deleted dependent object to yes. I'm going to hit OK. Give it a moment. And then I'm just going to get rid of all those polylines. I don't know about you guys, but I use the isolate and the unisolate, de-isolate, whatever the word is, for everything. So way more than I use isolate layers, but I use the isolate objects quite a bit. I don't know why that's taking so long. Going to blow my facts of 2025 out of the water. Huh? So there's my surface. There's the data clip. I got rid of those polylines that probably would kill my machine because there was a ton of them. I got rid of the data outside of the project area I don't need. And so when we're regenning, when we're working with it, when we're data shortcutting it, it no longer exists. So on large surfaces, especially built from, say, DEM files, drone data, I think that's pretty important. And then getting rid of those polylines is pretty important. So for what that's worth. This other stuff goes over to simplifying the surface even further. If you don't simplify your surface, if you haven't anyway, you just simply select your surface. And there is a simplify option. It'll select it eventually. There's a simplify option. You can get rid of points that you don't need. You could probably get rid of 50% of those points easily and not notice a difference in your contours. So, use data shortcuts. If you don't, you can ask me why. I'm not going to get into that. Not just for surfaces, pipe networks, anything, corridors. There's a list of all the stuff I run through. So if you guys send me a problem file, I usually go through all these commands. This PDF I can send you. There's just an article I wrote that has them all in there. Ways to clean it up, or you send it to me and I clean it up, or someone cleans it up. Docs has a reference explorer, reference manager here. So on desktop connector, excuse me, let's do that again. There is Reference Explorer. So if you have projects, maybe you're sending it to somebody, somebody sends it to you, or you're just having a hard time tracking down all the missing XREFs, you can open up Reference Explorer. And I'm just going to grab one of a sheet file, for example. This one should have some. It's going to go in there. It's going to read that file, and it's going to go look for any missing references, whether that reference is an image, a PDF, a CAD file, a DGN, and it's going to tell you these files are missing. Why are these files missing? If you've noticed extremely long open time, sometimes it's because it's going out there searching for a file that no longer exists. You can see it in a list. You can see it in a tree if that does anything for you. Or you can see it in a graph that shows you how my grading plan was built and what it was built out of. So this one's missing a PNG. This one's missing the grading base for my grading plan. Most likely important. Different things in there. So again, just there's an AutoCAD reference manager, but this to me is a lot easier to use. It's just called Reference Explorer. What else? I'll get into this in a minute. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Is anyone using Project Explorer? Okay. Project Explorer comes with Civil 3D. And let me open up a file. So one thing in Civil 3D that you can't do is you can't swap multiple gravity parts. You can swap multiple pressure parts, but why can't you swap multiple gravity parts? It's just dumb. The other thing that you can't do is you cannot in Civil 3D select a manhole over here and downstream 30 manholes and say graded at 0.5%. You can't do that in Civil 3D. You can in Project Explorer. So those two things, and then a feature line view thing, if that's the only thing you use in Project Explorer, your life will be better. I promise you that. But Project Explorer, right there, Home tab. This is independent. If I had two monitors, this would be on another monitor. My Civil 3D would be on one monitor. This is reading everything in this file. If I've got maybe a project manager or an engineer that knows nothing about CAD, that you're scared to death to let him in your CAD file, you could possibly introduce him to Project Explorer and be okay for a little while until they figure it out. But in here, so I can look at several things in here. So I've got my alignments. This one doesn't have any corridors, but I'm going to open up one that does. Let's go here. If I do have a corridor in there, I can look at my corridor. I can look at every single assembly in the corridor. I can make my changes here. So instead of in Civil 3D picking something and right-clicking and going to corridor properties or going to assembly properties, just to simply maybe rename something, you can do it here without all that right-clicking. This accesses everything. On the feature line side of things, why do I have 84 in this project? You can't unless you create a profile and project a feature line into a profile. You can't see a profile of a feature line. Just you can't. What file is this? So if I'm doing, I got too much crap open. So if I'm doing a curb return or something like that, I can just grab this feature line and I can see my points anywhere I want. And I can change the elevations in here. So it's a better version of the grading editor. And you can see it in profile instead of just guessing. Anything in purple, you can change. Trying to give me some space here. As far as the pipes go, I can come into my pipe network. Let's just go here. I've got sewer. I've got storm drain. Just for the heck of it. And then I've got my structures, pipes, pipe runs. If I go to pipes, again, I can't do this natively in Civil. And I'm just, let's mess up my sewer. I don't really care about the sewer in this. Let's just come in here and say I want to swap these out. I can select them. I can swap parts. So he says go to 10-inch pipe. I don't have to go into every single pipe anymore. I can simply go select what I want, swap parts. At some point, it's going to go. Oh, it's regenerating contours in the background for some stupid reason.
Should have simplified your surface.
I should turn on level of detail. That's going.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, we got time.
So the feature line, when it showed the profile, did it have to be attached to an alignment?
No.
For that to work?
Nope.
Oh, that's nice.
Nope. And you can compare it to surfaces. You can see cut and fill along a feature line every 5 feet, 1 foot, 20, like whatever you tell it. There. So swap part, again, can't do it in Civil. I can do it in Project Explorer where I can swap an entire group of parts to a different size. So that alone probably saves me quite a bit of time. The other thing that this does, let's go to storm drain. I'm just going to guess on something here. So this is storm drain manhole 35. Let's just go up here to 10. So with my pipe network selected here, storm drain, I can find my structure. So 35 would be awesome if you could just type it. No, you can't. 35 to 10. So let's do this again. Yay. I can see a pipe run. Doesn't matter if I have an alignment. I can see a pipe run for anything, anytime. So here, there's my pipe run for that. Okay. I can compare it to, let's just say, my finished ground. And I could tell it compare. It goes too slow. I can tell it to compare it every 5 feet, so I could have like my trench depth anywhere I want. But what I wanted to do here is edit pipe run. And I'm probably going to get it wrong because I'm just going to hold some random start or end. I should have checked before, but you can hold the start. You can hold the invert, and you could tell it. So right now it calculated it. There's almost 6 feet in pipe run change. It's an average of 0.77. But I can change that to, let's just say -1. Maybe I want everything to be 1% and drop 0.2 across the structure. I might have to do -0.2. Okay. It recalculates everything. And then if I hit OK, everything now goes at 1% from manhole to manhole. Okay. One thing that kind of annoys me, and it didn't change like my sumps until I go in there sometimes and hit OK. So visually it doesn't change, like maybe I have a sump depth. It actually did, it just doesn't show it visually. It's
I
really
think it's
dumb.
inversely in the manhole.
I put in the wrong
I just
numbers.
It's like something's weird there.
I'm pretty good, but I cannot make water run up. So. But anyway, the point of that is you can do that in Civil and just design that out, which is pretty cool. Or in Project Explorer, not in Civil. So those 3 things alone, Project Explorer, what did I do? Swap multiple gravity, design that length, and then feature line. There's a million other things to Project Explorer, but those alone, I think are pretty cool. So the reporting on that would take us a couple hours to go through, but there's some really, really good reporting tools in Project Explorer that don't exist elsewhere. Real quick on this. So depending on where you're at, municipality or whatever, sometimes we want to mix gravity and pressure. we can now tie a pressure line. Maybe we've got a force main sewer. We can tie that into a gravity structure. So before I couldn't do that. We probably most likely had to fake it in there. But now, if I select that, I can disconnect the part, connect to structure. So I picked this is just a pressure pipe. Right click, connect it to structure. I think I already did. Nope, I didn't. But that now shows up in my connections. It's where I've got my gravity and then my pressure here, which is useful for a couple things because I can control it here, but I can also annotate it in my manholes, my structure labels. But again, before I couldn't do that, I would have to manually go and do that. Super simple, super annoying before. That's easy to connect those in there. So if you got laterals tying in, or maybe you just got a force main tying into a gravity main, which is pretty common, you can do that. I'm going to do QTO, and then I'll do your intersection. Quantity takeoff. I'm going to make this one super simple because you can keep it simple, or you can make it extremely detailed. Basically, all it needs is an Excel file. It doesn't have to follow anything. Like, it doesn't have to follow AASHTO or UDOT or whoever. You can simply have an Excel file that you create for the quantities and stuff that you want. So in this one, I did just real quick. I've got a MOB, I've got a light pole, I've got 8-inch sewer. Let's add a few more things in there. Maybe I want 10-inch sewer. Maybe I want 15-inch storm drain, RCP. Just making this up. 24-inch storm drain, RCP. You can calculate it based on each, based on linear footage, based on an area, based on a lump sum, whatever else you want in there. Let's just say sod. I don't know. You could put a pay item. So if you want pay items to it, descriptions, payment item types, there's a lot of stuff you can put in there. I don't even really care about that right now. So there's 2 files to associate with QTO. You really only need one, which is this. The second file that you may have seen at times is categories. Categories are, and there's not a better way to view this file. Categories would be like road, utilities, earthwork, I don't know, whatever other category you can think of. Clearing and grubbing, removal, excavation, rock bolt. I don't know what that is. But you can categorize that however you want. So however you do your quantity takeoffs now, if you're doing engineer's estimates and you have them broken out into water, PI, storm drain, you can do that. Same thing here. But that's the one file, the Excel file. The optional file is the category file. So at minimum, a CSV that has the quantities that you want. In this file, I'm going to go look at my pipe networks. All Civil 3D objects, you can apply a pay item to. So if you're setting up your template and you want the pay items automatically to be in there, let's take pipe network, for example. Let's look at my sewer parts list. Anything you can set a pay item to. It's probably going to ask me to load a master list. I'll do that in a second. So pipes, your corridor model for concrete, blocks, hatching, like everything can have a pay item set to it. So I'm going to set my master pay item list. Just going to use that one I just did. Okay. I'm just going to set that one. I don't really care about a category file. But I'm going to tell it that's 8-inch sewer. Same thing here. I'll tell it that's 10-inch sewer. So if I took the time to establish my pay item list first, and then my template, it saves you a bunch of time downstream. But in this file, I also have stuff that I've drawn in that didn't have a pay item. You can still assign a pay item to it. I'm going to do a couple more just on this structure. So 48-inch manhole. I don't have a 48-inch manhole. Imagine that says, is that each? Yeah, let's just call that a manhole for today. I should have put a manhole in there. Anything I draw new, so if I go in here to do a new pipe network, let's just do that sewer using that parts list. Sure, we'll set the finished ground. Manhole, 8-inch sewer. I'm just going to sketch something in here real quick and ugly. Let's go to my 10-inch sewer. There. Anything I create new, which is why it'd be good to do this in your template, anything new automatically has that assigned to it. Anything that's existing in my file, if I go to QTO Manager, let's just take these storm drains, for example. Here, we've got assigned pay item to objects in the drawing. This would be assigned pay items to a closed area. So like sod, for example, if I wanted to assign it, if I had a closed object. Let's just say that's sod. Okay, 15-inch storm drain. Let's just go assign it. Enter. That's assigning the storm drain. I could go on and on. You're just picking stuff. Again, civil objects would be easy. The other stuff kind of manually. Like I don't even have curb and gutter in here, but polylines, lines, blocks, all that stuff you can assign things to. When you're done, or when you feel like you're done, you can simply just do takeoff here or takeoff here. It's going to be the same takeoff command. I can do the entire drawing. I can window an area and say just take off whatever's in this certain portion. I could do it based on an alignment station. I'm going to just do the entire drawing. Hit compute. CSV. Text file. However you wanted to do that. So the biggest thing is in the setup. The biggest thing is getting your pay item list set in that Excel file. If you go through the effort of doing it in your settings, in your template, because again, you can assign pretty much anything a pay item. Those are the two biggest things. And I think that's probably why most people don't use QTO, because the setup's a pain. But it's simple. It just takes a little while. But yeah, that's about it to it. You just assign it objects and hit takeoff. So there are some pre-built, like this one, for example, is a pretty detailed pay item list. Almost overkill, I think. There's a lot of stuff in there. I would just start. Go ahead.
So if you're going to do a quantity takeoff for volume, is that going to be the same process, but you just assign it to like a grading?
No, I would do that, either a surface volume or the average end section method in my sample lines. Because this won't do, this won't,
corridor.
yeah, this won't go volume. I mean, so in your corridor,
You could assign a layer to a, and then you assign that to quantity takeoff with that type to that.
it would, if we get into our corridor, where's corridor? there's your code set styles there. So your corridor reads these codes. Your corridor is built to link points and shapes. If you do put a pay item, you can't put a pay item to a shape, but you can put a pay item to your curb and gutter, your sidewalk, striping lines if you wanted to. So I don't think it's going to read volume because the volume is based on a shape, which I can't assign a pay item to a shape.
Okay, so
So you just
what,
need to layer
what
one?
unit would it give you if you signed it to the line or the point?
Linear feet.
You could do it linear feet. You could do it in
Oh,
tonnage. I've seen people do like, you could do a formula in your pay item list, which would go linear feet. If you're really smart, you could do linear feet times whatever the area,
Yeah,
do a tonnage takeout. I mean, you could do that if you wanted to. I don't know if I would do that, but you could definitely do that. So anyway, quick note on QTO because it's just not very well adopted, I don't think. I'm going to do this intersection real quick. And so I've already got my corridor. Again, I use feature lines for the most part for my intersections. Let me just double check that I have a corridor surface here. Yep, my finished ground. Okay. This is kind of how I go about my corridor. I break it out here. I leave my intersections last. I build my surface because when I come in here to do a feature line from my objects, just do both at the same time. Feature line site, no show is fine. Erase, assign elevations. When I go to do this, I want it to pick up the elevations from that corridor. So now I've got my feature lines. They're tying into my finished ground here. In my elevation editor, I could make it to where this is relative to the surface. So this point relative to my corridor. I tend to not because some updating stuff, but now I've got this feature line in here that I can grade through. So I'm going to go into my corridor properties. And I'm going to add in those two baselines. So my feature line, I'm just going to call this curb return 1, whatever that is. Okay. And then I'm going to do that again. Curb return 2. Okay. So now I've got to add a region to each one. So I'm just adding my curb return region, and then hitting OK. Again, like I had mentioned before, so I obviously chose the wrong assembly, but that's okay. All I've got to do now is just reverse that. This is not. Did anyone else hate the panorama as much as I hate the panorama? I even tried disabling it, but then you need it for some stuff, and that didn't work out very well. Okay, so let me reverse those two. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do one side. I'm going to edit the targets here for this region. It's going to, for my offset and elevation, for my width, I need to pick that alignment. And I forgot the name of the other alignment. Sit tight. South Loop 2. Oh, stupid name. I hate. Oh, I did select it. Blue on black doesn't work well for me. I have a hard time seeing that. The alignment and then the profile. So I set my 2 alignments in this case because my intersection. Set them at the same time. Elevation, I'm going to do my finished ground. Somebody remember. South Loop 2 and 4. I knew I named it something simple. So my finished ground for South Loop 2 and 4. I get too hard on myself. So that's going to target width for that alignment. It's going to target width for my north-south alignment. Pretty simple. That was a little painful because I can't remember my names, but that's why this tool exists here, this match parameters, because I can say whatever I did here, just do it over here. So it's automatically going to read those same targets for the horizontal and vertical and match parameters. Okay. And that's it. Everything's being controlled by alignment profile, and then just this one feature line. So,
Hey, Sean, is there a way to turn that target it off because it's taking the edge of road to the center. So like if you're showing your feature lines, you're also seeing that on the center. You know what I mean?
I do not know what you mean.
So you targeted your edge of road on your curve return to the center line of road.
Yep, got you there.
So it's taking that edge of pavement or edge of travel way line and it's showing up on the center line.
Right.
Where you just want those on the edges.
Oh, so for like display
You know what I mean?
purposes.
It's a display
Yeah, it's all about your code set. I don't know what I've got in here.
because it's in edge of travel way, so you can't really turn it off because then you won't see it on your other edge of travel way, right? Or you turn those off too.
I don't have my settings in here. You can turn those off.
Or I guess you just use a different subassembly or something. Maybe.
Do you print what your corridor shows?
I usually will try to use the feature lines from it,
Gotcha.
but that's it.
Yeah,
Not-
you can turn it all off. I don't have my settings in here, but in your code set style, you can turn those to no display.
But like the feature line.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking this red line right here on center
Yeah.
line, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, those can all be turned off. I'll show you when we break or something. It's just in here, very
Doesn't
deep.
that also turn the ones off on the edge of travel way?
I don't think so, because that's crown. Because they're double coated. No, I would have to look at the style, but I would say no. But let's look at it. I always freeze my corridor and never display it, but so that's why these styles in here are not.
I tried for a while to get the corridor to show for like a 30% plans to just print for 30% purposes.
Yeah,
I put too much time and effort trying to get those blue lines off and other things the way I like. You would think you'd be easily be able to throw out all the corridor, put a shading and style you like to make it at least for 30% review. Make it look good on PDF or
yeah,
I never had luck with that.
yeah. You would
Just
think.
some drawing and some rectangles and hatching down is always easier.
A couple of random commands. I'm going to delete this rectangle, and then I'm going to go in and do some changes over here. I'm just going to screw some stuff up. That's what I'm going to do. 4940. Let's get rid of some feature lines. There's a command that somehow I've started using a lot more lately. But let's say we deleted something accidentally and we're coming in here and we're changing pipes, we're doing some work, and like, where'd those lines go? I didn't mean to delete that. There's an oops command that just goes to the last thing you deleted. I don't know, it's just me, but I always accidentally delete stuff and then I have to go undo.
So undo's to the last deleted.
It undoes to the last deleted because you can see how it left all my pipes, everything I did fix, it didn't undo it.
I'm always doing that because I'll go and select an item, not realizing I had another item already selected, and hit delete.
Yeah,
Delete a whole.
yeah, I'm bad at that.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm so bad at that.
not really. I now just hit escape between everything and just to be serious.
Um,
Selecting a bunch of stuff.
Wipeouts, if you have to wipe some stuff out, this is something I found to be pretty useful. I'm just going to draw a random polyline in here, any shape, any size. The wipeout command is kind of a legacy. Does anyone still use wipeout? Okay. It's kind of a legacy command that causes issues. AEC polygon is the command. AEC polygon. You can quick code it if you wanted. You can draw or you can just convert something. So I'm just going to convert this polyline. Erase layout geometry, sure. Oh, of course it didn't work. Yeah. My computer's going to crash any moment. What that does, I don't know why I didn't wipe that out, but it gives you a more usable wipeout. I don't know why that didn't work. That's all right. But you can treat it like a polyline. Usually when I go clean up files, there's a lot of wipeouts that people didn't do, like a text mask, and they used a wipeout instead or something, and just makes files problematic. So if you still use wipeout, I would change it to AEC polygon. I promise when you do it, it'll probably work for you.
What is a wipeout?
Wipeout is, it's like a mask. So if I just draw, yeah, that's what should have happened over there.
And you just bring the label on top of that. Or,
And you just bring a label, just draw order or something like that.
yeah, coworker use that for every between the pages that ends up
So
stationary.
you're saying I should use the one that didn't work?
Use the one that use the one that didn't work. Okay, we've got 5 minutes. I want to show you the Navisworks workflow, and I've scripted it out for you. So and plus we're recording it. So again, at times you want to clash stuff, whether that is your corridor, maybe it's road material, pressure pipe, gravity pipe. This is a building. So this is just a solid. I think I did a solid. Maybe you've brought everything in and you want to clash it. You can't do that in civil. There's a couple commands. You have to have Navisworks installed, Navisworks managed, and Navisworks Freedom. It's a viewer. But there's a command in Civil 3D, NW load. And then it says Navisworks ready. Okay. If you're sending this out to contractors or something, this is a quick way to get it to Navis. So there's the first command that just loads it up. And the second command is NW out. Okay, Navisworks out. Throw this on the desktop. And that just creates an NWC file. Two extremely easy commands. In Navisworks, going to do a new file just so not hiding anything here. I'm going to append that NWC file. If you're not familiar with Navisworks, you can pretty much bring in any file type into Navisworks. I'm going to append that NWC. I'm running out of space here. But that converted whatever was in my civil file to this NWC file. And the view is 100% opposite of AutoCAD. Yeah. Okay. So that brought all this in. Converted my corridors to structure, so my depths. It converted these pipes to solids. They're still pipes technically. And then this building to a solid. You could bring in your Revit models. You could bring in other AutoCAD models. You can bring in any model. But then what you can do here is there's this clash detective. You just do clash detective. You say, I want to add a new test. And you start picking the objects, or in this case, the layer. Maybe you want to clash your sewer pipe with the building, storm pipe, and my water pipe. So pressure to gravity. Okay, probably run it. And then you just run the test. So I knew there'd be one clash because it's not like I haven't done that for this purpose, but it created that clash. You can do a hard clash, you can do soft, you can do within a couple of feet. But now it knows I just clashed my water line with my storm drain line. So that really only took a couple of minutes. You can create a viewpoint here. So if I want to right click, viewpoint, save viewpoint, that could be called clash. Because you could have 100 clashes in here. Okay. So I clashed it, but instead of going back to civil and hunting around and being like, where's that clash? Doesn't help I have 20 sessions open. Where exactly was that? What do I need to go fix? In Navisworks, if I select, let's select this pipe. There's a switchback. If I go switchback, and I gotta browse that file, I know. If I go back to civil, it zoomed in and selected that pipe in a 3D viewer. So I knew that clashed. I could just grab my clash pipe. And if I needed to change something in my pipe or my structure, I can make that change. So it saves a bunch of time if you have a whole bunch of clashes in there. Obviously, if there's just one, I could probably figure that out pretty quick. But now I know what I need to focus on. I can adjust my structure. I could lower it down. I'm going to lower it a lot. Let's really avoid this clash. You get the point. You save it, come back into Navis, refresh it. And it's so slow right now. If I run that clash again, it shouldn't see it because it probably dropped that structure like 300 feet. It's still updating. But if you ever want to clash things that you can't clash in civil and you want to find those utility conflicts, that's a quick 5-minute check on your entire model of what that's going to clash to. So for those that need to do it, that's really the only way to do it, and actually works out really well. So what that's picking. Any questions on that?
You have to pick sewer, see what it clashes with, then pick storm drain, see what that clashes with.
No, we could clash it on.
All versus all or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because really I could clash all my sewer pipe with. Let's see what happens here. Everything.
But you can also pick sewer, storm, and water on both sides.
Yep.
To clash everything.
Yep. Whatever you want to clash. Yeah. So this clashed a ton. When you do that though, like obviously that pipe is clashing with the structure because it's going into the structure. So those kind of annoy me a little bit.
Yeah, because it should know. It designed it that way.
Yeah.
It knows it's connected piece. So it's good.
It should know. It doesn't. But anyway, yeah, you can clash anything you want. Okay. Question.
Is there a way you can go into that 3D viewer on Civil 3D without the Navisworks or the, yeah?
Yeah, any view you can go into an isometric view, but then you're stuck with mixing 2D and 3D and wherever that pipe was. Yeah, you can rotate your viewport. You can
Okay.
do anything
It's
you
just
want.
not as pleasant, so you might not.
You could. The way I do it,
Yeah.
if I don't run a Clash, I go to my networks and I just select them here. I don't know what's about to happen. And then maybe my pressure network, select it. I use the object viewer. To me, it's just a little bit easier to see things
Yeah.
than dealing with my entire model.
Yeah, nice storm drain box. I don't know what that costs.
The 300-foot one. Beautiful. Okay, if you guys have any other questions, again, I'll be here throughout the day, but hit your lunch and I'll be back here for more. So, thanks, everyone.
Yeah.